From the City of Angels, you are listening to the James Salazar Media Podcast. On this week's episode of the podcast, we're going to talk about politics, so let me strike the music and I'll meet you on the other side.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Say hello to my little friend.
No, I am the Father.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody.
And welcome to the James Salazar Media Podcast, where you get your weekly dose of pop culture, politics, and futurism. I am your host, James Salazar, a.k.a. The Media. Today we're going to talk about, can Donald Trump become president again? But before we do that, I want to talk about the cancellation of Dr. Seuss. Now, let's be clear on this. They only canceled 6 books that had negative stereotypes on certain races, and they're no longer suggesting them for kids. But I think but let me tell you about my post I made, because it goes farther than not suggesting. They're no longer going to print it, and places like Amazon is no longer going to sell it. And my post said there's only one more step away from that you shouldn't have it. And you shouldn't have it leads to book burning. And book burning is a clear sign that your society is becoming fascist. And I think keeping this literature around, and I don't think you should give it to kids who can't even inform ideas yet about these negative stereotypes. I'm okay with that, for them not being in schools right now, at kindergarten and whatever the next grade, first, second, third. But they definitely should be in junior high and high school to serve as an example, to serve as material to teach that there were people who did believe like this. There were people who did have these stereotypes about other races. And to hide that history will only serve for us to repeat history. You know, me and my daughter were watching Gone with the Wind, certain parts of it. And, I said 3 things about that movie. Number 1, Vivian Leigh is gorgeous. Wesley, it's a little whiny biatch. And those people, they were racist as fuck. So, that lesson, that moment there with my daughter, was a lot more important lesson, had more power than any cancellation of any material. When I watched cartoons with her, some of those Looney Tunes cartoons, they're questionable. And I'll say, wow, that was racist. And she will either say to me, hey, I agree, or why is that racist? And I will just tell her. And then we'll go on and watch the rest of the thing. But these are teachable moments, and we're taking away the teachable moments. And we shouldn't hide our history. We shouldn't hide the history of white people and how they treated people other than them in this country, and serve as an example of how far white people have come. And I won't hide black people's history, Hispanic people's history, Asian people's history, whatever. The truth should win out. I don't believe there are truths that are too hurtful to say. And omitting truth is dangerous, and no one is better for it by hiding the history of humans. And this material has existed up until this moment. And I know plenty of white people who are great, not racist, not bigoted, and they were privileged with this information when they were young, and it didn't make them racist. Actually, it probably served as an example of how not to be. And personally, I will not raise my daughter to be easily offended by material, easily triggered by material, but that she will look at it analyze it, see how far we've come, see how far we have yet to go, and make the adjustments in our society to get to a more inclusive and equitable society based on freedom and the free market, of course. Equality of opportunity, of course, for everyone, regardless of their race, creed, gender, or their political affiliation. That's the lesson we need to learn today. It's not how to stop racism, but it's how to stop the bigotry of people believing different from yourselves. That's the issue we need to deal with. You really don't need to teach people that racism exists and you shouldn't do it. We all know it. We just need to adopt it. But there's plenty of people who don't believe that people should have freedom of thought, that people should be canceled if they believe different from you and if they expressed a different point of view. We're having trouble with that in our country today. Now, I think I said this, but I just won't raise my daughter in a way where information or people will trigger her, affect her in a way where she hands her power over to someone else or to some literature, that she will give no one the power to affect her in that light, in that way. I'm just not. And the best way I can teach those lessons, especially about racism and bigotry, is to show that it exists. To show that people did think this way. And if we erase our history, we are doomed to repeat it. How can you learn from history when you erased it? I think this is common sense. But some people just think society, black people are so weak and fragile that they can't handle this information. What do you mean they can't handle this information? They're the ones who lived it. Who are you to tell them that this history should be hidden? Has anybody asked them? Has anybody asked all black people? I know there's certain people who feel fragile over this, and I know certain black people who don't. It don't matter to them that they're going to be who they're going to be. They're going to pursue what they're going to pursue, and nothing's going to stop them. I know such people. They do exist, people. And to treat black people like some poor, fragile, we need the white savior to get rid of everything that offends us is racist. At least that's my opinion. It is called the bigotry of low expectations. But I agree, it probably shouldn't be upon the literature of that we have kids at a certain age should read. But or if we do, we should have the teacher talk about how people thought. Look, these kids are going to have to get into the real world where white liberals won't be able to protect them. And we're seeing a problem with that in our society by people being easily triggered and easily offended. And they become functionally useless in society because they don't push past how people with different ideas affect them. We are creating a weaker society. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That is not taught today. It's sticks and stones may break my bones, but your words, if not said the way I like, will totally destroy me and you need to be canceled. That's what's being taught today. And that is a mentally weak position. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. And I'm sorry, white liberals, you're not going to make me think like you. I am not going to be affected like you are affected by those things. I'm going to have a strong constitution, and so will my daughter. Now, let's get on to Donald Trumpitas. Can Donald Trump become president again? It's very possible, and let me tell you why. The same reason why he lost is going to be probably will be a major reason why he can win again. I don't know if he will. I don't know if he wants to bother. He might be going through withdrawal. He might have PTSD, whatever, post-traumatic stress syndrome over being president. Because, let's be truthful, people had a problem with him from day one. The people who had a problem with him at day one were never going to like him. We're never going to give him a chance. That's not saying he did good or bad things. I'm not saying that. But the fact of the matter, there was a group of people that he can do no right. Right along with the people who say he can do no wrong. They exist. And how Donald Trump ran this country is way more nuanced than that. But the major reason he probably can get in again, and there's a couple reasons, and a lot of things have to coincide. Number one, he has to want to, like I said before. But one of the major reasons is that Americans have short attention spans. Okay? All Americans knew is what happened in 2020. And that's what they voted based on. Is what have you done for me lately? They didn't look at all the successes Donald Trump had. High unemployment was gone. Most employment in American history for minorities and women. 2 Middle East peace deals. The pacification of North Korea for almost 3 years. Not getting us in any war. Reigniting the space race. A booming economy that not only had more people employed, but had people at higher wages. Don't let anybody tell you different. But that didn't matter. We came into a pandemic. And even though if the election happened during the summer, it probably would have went Donald Trump's way because of all the rioting. But it pretty much quailed down and the media stopped reporting the rioting and the looting. And that was enough cushion for Americans to forget and vote for Joe Biden. Now, fast forward to the next election. If Joe Biden is in a bad position, if the economy's going bad, and things are not looking good, people will forget what happened at the Capitol. That'll be long gone out of their memory. And if he looks like the solution, he will win. Number two, reason why he can become president again. People have aspirational ideas until it hits their pocketbook. And if the economy's doing bad, if Joe Biden has not brought those green jobs by the time he has to run for election again, he will lose the presidency to a Republican. For sure. If there's massive job loss and if people are making less money, that's when all the aspirational ideas no longer influence your voting. You just want things to stabilize. You just want the ability to buy a house, buy a car, feed your family. And when that can happen, and many people are out of work, that's more than enough reason for Donald Trump to retake the presidency. People will forget that he made people believe that the election was stolen. If we go to war, that might be a deal breaker. If the Middle East falls apart, I don't know if that will make much difference, but a combination of things, of a bad economy, us going to war, Middle East falling apart, could be a catalyst to let Donald Trump in. And let me tell you something, Donald Trump is going to be on the news because Donald Trump sells more than anybody else. Fox News, CNN, MSNBC are all down in their numbers. And when Donald Trump is forefront, their numbers go up. It's just a fact. And at the end of the day, people are not going to want to be fired. So they're going to bring up Donald Trump. And also they have a motivation to bring up Donald Trump to make sure he doesn't become president, because we know that CNN and MSNBC and mostly all media is left-leaning, and they do not want another Trump presidency. And their political views may not be for their business views. They might, if some journalists hit hard times because there is no Donald Trump news, they just might say economically it's better that he becomes president. But the way they're going to do that is talking negatively, because there's a market for people who don't like Donald Trump and people who are going to put him down and speak about him negatively. People want to watch that. People like to be in their echo chambers on both sides, for sure. And when you feel that you're right, people are mostly upset when they deal with somebody who doesn't agree with them. Even I do. If someone disagrees with me, I get a little annoyed. But I don't want to counsel them. I don't want to shut them down. I will fight for their freedom to say what they want to say and how they want to say it. Doesn't change that they're wrong. In this country, you have every right to be wrong. But, yeah, Donald Trump leads, and he will be on telling every misstep Joe Biden makes and how he would have done it and why he's wrong. And if Donald Trump can predict all the bad decisions by Joe Biden, he will win the presidency. So let me tell you something. The biggest obstacle for Donald Trump to become president is actually the Republicans, because the Democrats right now, with their cancel culture, with trying to link all Trump voters to the riots and that you're racist if you voted for Donald Trump. Identity politics, it turns people off. It's what helped Donald Trump come in. And it will again. The certain people who left, the 7 million people, probably 10 million people probably left Donald Trump, will come running back if they feel that the Democrats have jumped too deep in the water of identity politics and maligning people's character and shutting people down. It took a long time to say that. Shutting people down with their cancel culture. You will have people running to the Republican Party. This is not what they bid for. A lot of people just felt that Donald Trump was too divisive. Oh my God, I couldn't get that word out. Devices. Divisive. They didn't mind the Republican message. They just didn't like the messenger. And you saw that in like places like California, who voted for pretty much conservative ideals and free market principles when it came to the election, but voted against Donald Trump. And if you make them have buyer's remorse by shutting down a bunch of jobs because they don't meet some green agenda, that basically would now create a bigger carbon footprint because all the trucks who have to drive up and down the road from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico to supply oil seems very unwise. And a lot of people, a lot of towns are going out of work based on a promise that there's going to be green jobs. And if those green jobs don't come, Donald Trump can come in. But like I said, the biggest hindrance, the biggest obstacle for Donald Trump to become president is the Republican Party. whether they want him back. Because there's a certain way of doing things in politics in Washington that Donald Trump was not going to go along with, because he was not brought up to be a politician. He was brought up to be a personality and a businessman. Made his fame by being flamboyant and rich, who fires people on a reality TV show, and just someone who couldn't be controlled. And you saw that with Mitch McConnell and all them. They just did not like him. So I think the biggest obstacle for Donald Trump to become president will be the Republican Party, but I don't know if they're going to have, if everything's going as it is right now. Joe Biden's first couple of steps forward is to, in fact, shut down jobs and not saying anything about cancel culture and so on. So let me clarify. Let's bring it all back. If Donald Trump on Fox News and other programs, because they're going to want to have him on the programs, can predict everything bad Joe Biden does, and it actually happens, and then he will run on, I told you so. You have paid a price financially and socially that you never intended to pay for voting for him. And if the Republican parties and if Donald Trump is still an overwhelming favor in the Republican Party, he will become nominated as their candidate, and he will win the election back. What Joe Biden has to do to stay president is make the economy good. Pretty much it. He doesn't have to do much. If we go to war, people don't care about war as long as it isn't in our country. People don't seem to care about cancel culture until they're canceled. But if those green jobs can come back and people can fulfill their dreams by creating an avenue of income for themselves based upon their dreams and aspirations, if they can still do that in America, people will still vote for Joe Biden. They won't care about the other stuff. As long as their pocketbook is good, they'll suck up. If free speech is taken away a little bit, most people don't care as long as their pocketbook is fun. And as long as they can have a group of friends where they can talk about what they really want to talk about and they're not going to judge them, they'll be fine with it. And we already see that in the culture already, that you can only say certain things around certain people. And you know who those people are. And you know you can't say it on social media. When I talk on social media, I'm very, very calculated in what I am saying. That it doesn't come back to cancel me, but I get my point across. And that's what you have to do. That's the new. No one can say, I hate this, I hate that, I don't like this, I don't like that. You can't just have some simple argument like, I don't like this, screw you all. You have to talk about the ramifications of things going on in our country and where they might lead to. Those are much better arguments. But at the end of the day, if Donald Trump, if the country is worse under Joe Biden financially, he will lose the election and Donald Trump can win. If all he has to do is have a great economy, and my friends, I'm sorry to say, he's looking to raise taxes on the people who create jobs, and they just don't have to work in that economy. They are rich and they have a lot of money saved, and they can just say, I'm going to wait for 4 years until a Republican president comes in, which will happen if there is no people willing to invest in an economy where the taxes are so high, it's not worth the effort. When they know that they just need to take a vacation 4 years and there will be a Republican president coming in and where they will invest in the economy again. So he's raising taxes. He's shutting down jobs. And that's a recipe for disaster. To lose a House and a Senate in 2 years. And at the rate he's going, if he doesn't change, which I don't expect him to, he will lose a House and a Senate. And if he still goes down that trajectory, damn it, Certain words I can't get today. Trajectory. Oh, it came in the last moment. Trajectory, I think I'm saying that right. It sounds wrong. If he keeps going down this path, he will lose the presidency. Look at Bill Clinton lost the House and the Senate because he went down a certain trajectory. And the Republicans took the House and the Senate, and Bill Clinton had to reverse course. He did regulated energy, and he lowered the capital gains taxes, and the economy got better, which allowed him to win re-election and stay as president because the economy got better. He worked hand in hand with the Republican Party. He read the will of the people and said, okay, they want a more free market. I'll give them the more free market. And the economy got better, and that allowed him to become president again. And he pretty much didn't change much of that until the dot-com crash, which George Bush Jr. inherited, and plus 9/11, which he in turn just told people, I'm going to cut taxes, and you just need to buy stuff. You need to go into the economy and start buying things. You need to start spending your money in the economy, and we will get better. And he was right. We got out of it in a year. From a dot-com crash and a terrorist attack on our financial institutions. You want the economy to get better? Just open up and let people spend their money. Let people get jobs. And let people social distance. And wear masks. That's fine with me. But we need to open up. What happened during 9/11 is a lesson of how you come back as an economy. You let the American people get us out of it, not government. Government handing us money. People are not going to spend that money if they feel things are not going to get better financially for them. They don't feel jobs are going to come back for them. They're going to hoard that money, and that money won't go into the economy. If everybody seems to want to keep shut down. Only when you have a job can your financial situation have some sense of certainty. And if you open up the jobs, if you open up the economy, you open up businesses, people are more likely to spend money in the economy, knowing that they're not going to shut down jobs for every thing that happens in our society that may not be ideal. Look at things like free assembly, free speech. They're all supposed to be there for when things are going bad. No one needs to defend these issues when things are good. The right to assembly, the right to petition, the right to speak, the right to remain silent, these are for when things are going wrong. And when things are going wrong, that is not a permission to deny those rights. It's just not. So I hope I laid the case out that how Donald Trump can become president again. His two major ways that can be stopped is, number one, the media not, and Fox News not televising him, which they're not going to do. He's too much money. Republican Party, do not nominate him. That will be a sure way he can't become president. And if he becomes a third party, we'll split the party in half, and the Democrats will win just by numbers. And number two, Joe Biden just needs to keep a good economy. If he does that, people will stay with him. They just will. If he can see where the country's going, read the room, and he can't fulfill his green promises, and he knows the economy is going in the shitter, if he doesn't make an about face, and start to bring incentives for rich people to invest in the economy, people will vote for Donald Trump again. It will happen. But let me say this. We don't need another Donald Trump. We just need somebody who can learn from Donald Trump the courage that whatever you promise, you follow through on, that can hit back at the media intelligently. And I mean intelligently in a way that keeps the conversation civil, but intellectually win the argument. We don't need some guy who is easily offended and starts throwing mud and acts like a child when things don't go his way. If we have the right person, we will win the argument. The conservative libertarian argument is the best argument. Freedom. Freedom is always the best argument. Love for the country is always the best argument. Optimism is always the best argument. The most negative usually loses, and Donald Trump ended up being the most negative. They hid Joe Biden so he wouldn't say anything negative. And at the end of the day, their plan worked. They knew sooner or later, eventually Donald Trump will put his foot in his mouth and say something that turns people off. We can vote someone like Dan Crenshaw. Dan Crenshaw for president. He's like someone who will have the courage of Donald Trump, who'll hit back like Donald Trump, but in a way where he looks classy. And it can happen. Look at Ronald Reagan. When he hit back, he rarely lost an argument, and he did it with humor and intelligence. We needed Donald Trump to come in to tell us what is possible and what is no longer accepted. This same old politics of promising people but not fulfilling is no longer going to be tolerated. And I think Joe Biden has learned that lesson, that he is being emphatic about what he's doing for his base, and he just pushing it all through. And he knew he had to hide that. Donald Trump, the conservative message is more popular, so therefore he told people, he told the whole country what he was going to do, and he did it. Democrats have to hide it. Literally hid their candidate. Then let him go out and talk and be interviewed. And still, even as president, there is a wall between the media and Joe Biden, and the media is getting a little annoyed with that now. Even the media that helped him get elected. And we know why he's not taking all the interviews and taking all the questions, because he has cognitive decline, unfortunately. And I don't wish that on anybody, but they had to hide that as well. And it was very questionable when we saw him during the run for presidency. A lot of phobos and gasps that were not something he just spoke, but we know that he was a very articulate, charismatic individual, and that got lost because of age, and happens to the best of us. And they had to hide him. It is what it is. And who knows if he can last 2 years. He might step down if he loses the House and the Senate and let Kamala take over. And that would be super bad for the Democrats, because nobody wants a president they didn't vote for. I think at this point I'm rambling on, so we're going to end it there. I think you get the gist of what I'm trying to say. Next week, we're going to get into our coaching corner, things you can and can't control. That will be a surprise. I'm not sure which one I want to teach yet, so I'll let you know next week when it comes up. So, my friends, you want to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, all the social, YouTube, yeah, I said that. All the social media platforms, just type in James Salazar Media. I should come up. Please subscribe to my social media platforms as well as the podcast and leave a review of the podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. I'm sorry for hitting my P's so hard. I would greatly appreciate it. And leave a review. Good, bad, or indifferent at this point. And if you disagree with anything I said, I would love to talk about it on the podcast. Anybody who disagrees or agrees or has a statement, anybody who emails me at jamessalazarmedia@gmail.com gets priority on the podcast and will be addressed. So until then, my friends, when the storm of life comes against you and you find yourself on your knees, stand tall, take a look at that storm, and say what my sensei Jack Burton always says, give me your best shot. Strike the music.